Hello everybody, welcome back to a frozen farming plan with duck. I'm back here on the back of the Ponderosa. I finally took an opportunity today. It's about 31 degrees, even though that's not too bad. The wind is whipping pretty hard today, so I don't know what the wind chill is. Probably mid-20s or so. I just more or less want to take this opportunity to cruise down here on the farm and kind of look over the place, make sure I got plenty of cattle, and or should I say plenty of hay for the cattle. Looks like they're relatively content. It's more or less a frozen tundra. I guess that most people seen on the news, most of the country's been this way. We're probably had, I don't know, maybe an inch or so of ice and snow, which is not really bad, but an inch of ice is just really rough on the farm life, that's for sure. I can handle a lot of snow, but when there's a lot of ice, it just makes things much more treacherous. Luckily, the sun's came out. Roads have all burned off a lot of the ice, so it was pretty easy traveling down here. One thing about being legally blind and a white snow or ice, there's not much contrast to things out here. So sometimes it's a little more difficult out on the farm to see where you're going. Luckily, been on this farm all my life, so I do know my way around a little bit. But at the same time, it's not terrible. I can actually use the fence post and tree lines kind of as my reference point when I'm cruising around the place here. Try to give you a few shots of the farm and how it looks like on the frozen tundra of the Barber farm. But I'm not going to stay here very long. At least everybody's content and got hay. So I'm going to ride around here and nose is running and everything else. So I'll get a few shots here as we go along and give you an idea of what it's like here in the later part of January in southern Middle Tennessee. Like I said, this is the back of my farm here. I probably got 16 acres or so. Kind of give you a little broad lay of the land. Ground's kind of rough for the fact it's frozen. This is right at the very back of my place. There's my creek. Of course, obviously, I'm not going to try to worry about crossing it today, but I do have a pretty good area to cross. You can probably tell right back through there is the very end of my place. It's like it's about 100 acres here. God's country. My grandfather spent many a time back here just riding over things and walking it. Not necessarily this time of year, but during the summer, he spent all his time back here. Another little shot of my creek area. You might be able to see right over there is what we call a foot log. For many, many years, that's how my grandfather would get on the other side of the creek. Got a little wire that you use kind of as a handhold, and he'd walk across that foot log. I doubt if he would try to do it today, as slick as it is, but that's about the only way he had to access the other side of the creek if the water was up too deep to cross with a pickup truck or a tractor. Another shot of some of the land here. Of course, I can kind of see the roadway here, just for the fact that it's solid white, and each side of the roadways got a little grassy area and the fence post there, so you just use whatever you can to kind of navigate. Well, I think my cows are all looking at me like I'm crazy. I don't have no wool coat like they do. One thing about it, I like to say, cattle are pretty resilient. They can sure take the weather a lot better than I can. I don't see how they're getting anything to eat, but they're nibbling around here pretty good. I've got probably 5 or 6, 7 hay rings full of hay, but they'd rather be out grazing around. That's one thing about cattle. They can tolerate the cold, but if the sun is shining and everything like that, it's really, really not all that bad for them. Now, if it was cold and rainy like it was here a few days ago, they'd have their heads buried in those hay rings. What do you say, kiddo? I'm making my way back up toward the front of the farm now. Still looks like I got several bales left in rings, so they've definitely got plenty to eat. They're not starving, that's for sure. What are you doing? What are you doing there, huh? Yeah, I know, I'm crazy. Well, there's my big pond out front. Anybody up for ice fishing? Have to be cautious around here. Don't want to slide off in it. I don't hardly ever have my cows out here grazing. There's where my cousin Smo. He's probably been out and about this morning. Another cousin right over there. So we a family around here. Well, there you go. You got a winter tour of the Barber Farm here at Farming Blind with Duck. I believe I'm going to call it a day. I'm about froze out here. If the wind hadn't been blowing, it might not be too bad. Of course, heading back to the house, I'm going to be driving right back into the wind. So I definitely know where the heater is when I get there. So I hope you enjoyed this edition. This is probably one edition. I don't know whether I wanted to film or not, but I thought it'd give you a good look at what it's like here in southern Middle Tennessee at the end of January. Now I'm looking forward toward the end of July. So you guys have a great day. If you have any questions, give me a shout. God bless.